Welcome, Freeride family, to the Freeride World Tour podcast for the 2023 season. Presented by Peak Performance, the official ski wear partner of the Freeride World Tour, and Freeride World Tour sponsor Vibram. We give you confidence in every step on all terrain. And I'm Mark Warner, your host, so let's drop in. All right, Derek, we are here. This is the first recap event of the FWT23 season. We're one day off the competition. It finished about 24 hours ago. We had our opportunity to decompress and then go and get loose, so to speak.
So to speak, yeah, that party was legendary. Definitely a good time. Everybody had a lot of steam to blow off. And Baqueira Beret Pro, I mean, the event, but also the after party, really... The community delivery on this whole thing, yeah, it's magic. It's so cool to be in season now, you know, we're flowing.
I'm going to suggest start the Freeride World Tour off in this place every year. It is mind-boggling how stoked people are and how engaged they are here.
They love it. Yeah, it's incredible.
So how many do we figure we're watching?
I think the estimate was 20,000.
That many?
I think so. I mean, obviously, I don't know. I didn't count them, but it was definitely loud. I mean, even in our commentary position, our mics were picking up the crowd and the live announcer the whole time. And,
that's right.
on some of the big runs, we just kind of, Anna and I were like, well, we should probably stop talking because this tells it way better than we can.
You know what? He's the guy, the announcer, like the live announcer, who did like the intros for opening ceremonies. He did the closing ceremonies. He did the event. I think that guy's like the secret, like hidden MVP of the whole week.
Big time. Yeah. He had the crowd just absolutely popping the whole time. I mean, the way he rolls R's in everybody's name and even finds a place to do it in names that don't have R's.
That right there was just one component to such an amazing event.
Yeah. I mean, this whole valley has been booked out for 6 months. You can't get a hotel room. You can't get a condo. Everything's full. The road was crazy yesterday, all the way down, and people coming from both from Spain and from France, from Andorra, like everywhere. This was the central hub for the snow world for, I mean, everything within a couple hundred Ks.
And what a cool resort.
Oh, it's huge.
It's massive.
It's so big. There's so many fun areas to ski. Yeah, it really has delivered on everything that was promised and more.
Yeah, absolutely. And the town that we went down to the town on the first night, and it's a cool, beautiful little cobblestone streets, kind of European ski village.
So beautiful. I mean, everything about it, the architecture, obviously the people are the best.
Yeah.
And the skiing. Like, if you get a chance to come to Baqueira Beret, do it.
Another reason why there were so many people here, so many locals and so many people are fired up is because they have 3 riders in the comp. Abel Moga, Elizabeth Marina, and of course, Aymar Navarro. The king. This town revolves around Aymar. We went out with Aymar on the very first night to a little thing called Pinche Pote, which is kind of a mini bar crawl through town, where you go into a bar and you get a drink, a beer or a glass of wine, and a really fancy tapas. And you just hop from spot to spot. And it was like we were on a tour with the mayor. Like, for real. Everybody just, Aymar. We were there with a bunch of the riders, Carl and Reina and Christopher Turdell and Finn. Michael Mann was there. And we were all just walking like, this is amazing. We're like following the prophet. But it was so cool to watch, and it was so cool to see him interact with the people of his town and how much love they really have for him.
I can't imagine a level of adoration like that, or I can't think of it in any other ski town for any other rider, skier, or snowboarder. It's just incredible, the impact that he's had on this place. He was instrumental in getting the event to happen. He was the first one getting in Nicholas Hale-Wood's ear about, hey, you really should bring the Freeride World Tour to my home valley. It's got everything you're looking for, and from idea to execution to being on snow, just top to bottom. I mean, full kudos to Aymar for the idea, right. And he's so humble about it. He's like, no, many people were involved. This wasn't just me, but he was the catalyst for it, and you can see why they love him. I mean, we all do.
Yeah, and what a place, like Spain. Who would have thought that a freeride competition like the gaze of the entire free ski world would be on a Spanish resort. Well, they proved it.
Oh,
it
yeah.
works well.
Oh, yeah. That face is fantastic.
And so there was some news. In keeping on Aymar, he announced that this would be his final Freeride World Tour event. No one knew. He brought it up just yesterday, I believe, right before the comp.
Yeah, in the opening ceremonies, he said, "I'm going to retire after this season." And the announcer, asked him a bunch of questions, and everyone gave him a huge cheer.
He got a little choked up.
Yeah, he did. And then he took it another step further. In his interview at the very end, we had him and Abel, and we just wanted to kind of congratulate them on a great show, both for skiing incredibly well. And that's when he announced that this was it, that he's done. And his take on it was, how could it get better than this?
How could it?
It couldn't. I mean, his reception, sticking that line, he got his redemption from last year. He stomped his line. It was clean. It was classic Aymar Navarro. And yeah, he was like, I'm good.
Is this storybook ending?
Yeah.
So a bunch of us, and like myself and a bunch of the riders, were like, we're going into the crowd for Aymar's run. Like, I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about it. It was so wild. The announcer who we mentioned was going crazy, going, thank you, Aymar, gracias, Aymar, gracias. And then everybody's cheering, and you could see him go all the way across the top, and he almost like he was taking his time, putting on the show. Dropped into the face, he got loud, he hit that first air, got louder, and then it got hushed for just a fraction of a second as he went off that second mandatory. And as soon as he landed, the place just erupted.
Behind the next one. He's all the way over here now. Doubling it. Here we go. Here comes the dub.
And they didn't quiet down until he made his way all the way down to that little alley that you have to ski past the entire crowd to get into the finish zone. It was, I've never witnessed, very rarely have I witnessed anything so amazing in person, and like the energy, like just now I'm almost tearing up. It was wild.
Yeah, it was intense, and full credit to him. He even mentioned that he wasn't 100% sure, even at the opening ceremonies when he announced that he was going to shut it down at the end of the season, that was accurate. He had this idea in his head.
Like he basically, the way he skied it, it's like he was doing it for them.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. He
knew this
was for the crowd. That was for the people.
Because if you watch the way he skied into it, that's not a normal Aymar run. Like he took a little extra time.
Yeah, I think he was just soaking it all in. I mean, for him to kind of have that in his head that this is going to be my last run on the Freeride World Tour, he gave it the time it deserved, which was just incredible. And yeah, seeing him in the finish, and he was super emotional then. And then in the interview at the end between him and Abel, it felt like a passing of the torch for Spanish Freeride. And he's really brought Abel up under his wing as a rider and as a local from the Val d'Aran, and that part of it was definitely pretty special.
Abel's got a good mentor. He was out with us that night as well, and we were calling him the mayor and the king. Because Abel was literally lived like 2 doors down from one of the spots that we went to. And then, so Aymar went, and then earlier on, Elizabeth went on as well, and she's a local girl. She ended up crashing, but everybody started chanting her name as she cruised out of the bottom. And I talked to her about that. She's like, man, that felt so special. I felt terrible about my run. But as soon as I got to the bottom, it didn't really matter anymore because I had all the support. And then Abel went and hucked that front flip, landed it, and the whole crowd went like bananas. Absolutely bananas. As he came out, people started running down the slope towards him as he was skiing towards the corral.
Chaos, and he was just reveling in it, swinging his pole around, and like, I mean, you can only imagine what that feels like to have, because you do have to ski through that canyon, and the whole crowd is lining the upper section, and all day long, and we saw this last year here too, every single rider that passed through there got the same treatment, whether they had stomped their run or whether they had fallen or whatever. And it just elevates everyone. And then, of course, the three locals got by far the biggest roar. Just the ground was thundering. I mean, yeah, like I said, Anna and I couldn't even talk when a bell went through. We just had to stop because our mics were just picking up the crowd noise, and it was way better than anything we could have said to just be quiet and let that happen.
There's a new bar to set. For Freeride World Tour venues and audiences.
Yeah.
So if you're listening and you're going to Andorra or Kicking Horse folks out in Canada,
yeah, let's get after it. Let's get loud for everybody, because the support here was next level.
And it makes it that much more fun. Like, wow, so good. And we haven't even started talking about the comp yet.
Yeah, let's dive into it. It was a pretty intense start. The forerunner, the first forerunner, Laurent Gauthier, is one of the judges, cut out a pretty big pocket, and everyone was watching when it happened. And he was, he's the right guy to be in that position. He's got a ton of experience in the mountains. He kind of expected what did happen to happen, and he was in a safe spot, but it still was spectacular and intense.
The snow, I missed it. I was on my way up on the chair, and I came up over, and I could see the face coming into view, and I saw the small little fracture line, and went, oh no.
Yeah, and so it had a few effects. It definitely, for everyone watching, the riders doing face check, they were like, ooh, where are we at with avalanche risk? Also, it flushed all the snow out of the middle section of the face. So we had that new snow. There was a storm, I guess now 3 days ago. So it really had two effects. One was on the mood of the riders. Everyone got a little nervous about the safety, the avalanche risk, and all that. And then the secondary one was it flushed all the snow out of the middle section of the venue where it hadn't bonded, and so all of those lines that riders had chosen that they were expecting at least kind of a little bit of padding on that firm bed surface, that was all gone, and it was right back to super hard pack. So some people opting to switch lines, other people staying with plan A and just managing the conditions. And
it got into the heads of a lot of riders.
Yeah,
lots of people. We saw some tears. We saw some confusion. There was a discussion. Are we running the comp?
Yeah. And so they sent all the guides back for another lap to do a bunch more ski cutting, and no more results produced. Nothing else moved. And I talked to the local Baqueira Beret Freeride Club coach, Christian, and he was like, yep, that's exactly where it always happens. Everything else will be fine. Everything over on the looker's left is going to be glued in from the sun the day before. So he had a real kind of wire on the situation, and he was proved to be exactly right.
So they had a little meeting with the riders and the organizers, and they're like, okay, let's do it. I know some of them still were quite hesitant, and it did affect some riders' runs that day.
Yeah, I mean, we talk so much about this at the junior level coaching that you have to ride to the conditions that you have in front of you. If you had a plan for powder and it's not powder, you need to change your plan, because if it's not that, then it's not going to work.
And this is a prime example. It can change
it can change minutes before, quickly, and you got to be able to adjust. And really, I think the key takeaway is ride to the conditions. Whatever those conditions are is what you do, and it's what you have. And it wasn't unsafe. I think but that was proven by the riders, and a huge shout out to them for their skill, and also just their professionalism in managing the mental side of it, and the fear and all that, and going, yeah, okay, if I need to change, I'm going to change, but recognizing that the conditions were what they were, and you needed to ride at the level that the conditions allowed.
All right, we're going to flow through in order of the categories. So snowboard women is up first.
Yeah, it was a big start to the season, and Michaela Davis-Meehan had the dubious honor, depending on who you are, you love it or hate it, of dropping very first for the entire season on the Freeride World Tour. So she fought her way back through the Challenger Tour and earned her spot back on the Freeride World Tour. She's got a whole new mindset.
She didn't get her bags for the first 3 days that she was here, so she was wondering if she was going to have to borrow gear or something. I think she missed the first face check on that sunny
totally
day.
Did, yeah.
She didn't have her gear, so here she is.
The second face check was her first day on snow here.
So she's probably thinking, all right, well, I'm dropping first. Might have to rent some boots.
Yeah, so it was a tough run for Michaela. There were a few riders, I think, that really kind of hit the exact balance of riding the conditions, but still giving it enough that it was, that it was solid. But it really was this balance. And she was going good, and then she had that air at the bottom that she was, I think, just a little bit short on. It was hidden behind the tree, so we couldn't get a clear picture of it, but it definitely didn't work out, the way she was hoping. Which was, it's a tough way to start. But as you said, there was probably a lot swirling around in her head with the whole like missed days of riding, lost gear, and all that. And it was a solid send, definitely. I feel like we haven't seen the whole bag of tricks yet from Michaela. I think she's going to come back swinging.
No, indeed. All right, so third place in snowboard women, we have Erica Vikander, who's always right there. Consistency is the name of the game with Erica. Podiums, multiple podiums every year, right there. I think her line was fairly conservative, but smart.
Yeah, I mentioned this in the show. She's really experienced, far and away the most experienced rider in the snowboard women's field, and she rode to the conditions that she had in front of her, which is, that's savvy comp riding. You can't try to make it into what it isn't. And I know that she wasn't stoked. She's like, I just want to put down a run I can be proud of, but also recognize the situation for what it was, and did the in my opinion, the right call, because we saw Estelle Rizzolio, Michaela Davis-Meehan, and Tiff Periton send, but maybe too much for the conditions that we had, and all three crashed. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Erica's, like she said, not super proud of that run, but also has a podium under her belt now in the first event. Anna Orlova with the silver, another one. She in face check said, I've got a bad girl line and a safety line, and I'm not going to decide until I get up there, and at least until I see the forerunners. And she chose the safety line. And another one similar to Erica, where she's like, it's not what I wanted to show. I want to show the full depth and spread of my riding. But it's savvy comp riding.
It's hard to dial it back when you've been waiting months. It's the first comp of the season. People just want to come up. They're fired up. They want to show what you can do because it's like first event. So to be able to hold off takes a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a gutsy play for a rider to do that, but it does pay off in a result. And there is a cut at the end of the first three events, and riders have that in the back of their minds that they want to be in Fieberbrunn and they want to be in Verbier. So riding to the conditions and making the smart play, it probably doesn't feel good for their snowboarder soul, but they're putting themselves in a good spot going forward.
Right. And then the gold medal top place on the podium, Canadian Katie Anderson from Fernie. She's back on the tour this year, and she started things off with a bang.
Yeah, in my opinion, Katie found the perfect line between not enough that you don't feel good about your run, or too much and you can't actually hold on to it. She was one that after the face got flushed with that pocket releasing, completely changed her run. She had a line in the other section, but it was very much plan A and plan B, and she saw that happen, recognized it for what it was, and went to plan B where the snow was better and it was bonded to the old surface, and still had a solid line. She was grabbing on all her features. She rode really fast. It's great, I think, for all of us to see Katie rise to her own potential and ride at the level that we've kind of all been. We've been talking about this for a bit, that how strong a rider Katie is, and she showed it. Like her board control, her balance over her feet, even the landings, knowing how much pressure to put on the front foot versus the back foot versus if you're loading up the tail, depending on the surface that you're landing on. Like, she just hit all of those benchmarks perfectly and resulted in a gold. So yeah, that's sick for Katie to see her come out swinging like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then her little celebration as she was rolling through, whipping her glove around.
Well, she said she was really jealous of how skiers can whip their pole around when they have those kind of long, flattish sections on a comp face near the end. And she thought that was really cool and something that snowboarders don't have. So she found her own way to add it into her run, which I thought was awesome. Yeah, it was her own little spirit. And I'm sure in that moment when she started doing that, she was feeling really good. She just laced her run top to bottom, and it was a good one. Obviously, the judges agreed because they put her in first place, but I thought that was pretty sick. And the crowd loved it, like right, early first category, and she was celebrating with them.
Yeah, so that was so. And then she ended up with 80 points. So Katie Anderson first place with 80 points, Anna Orlova in second with 72. And Erica Vikander, third place, 69.33.
Yep. So snowboard women done and dusted for the first comp.
And it was a good one. And, there's a lot of potential. And then the next one, we're hoping to see some more completed runs.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the best case scenario is everyone in the field stomps their run and you leave it to the judges to decide.
Right. And with all the concern about the conditions, some shallow conditions, the judging line actually didn't start for about 50 meters from the top.
Yeah, something like that. It was a ways down. It was really, really rocky and scoured. I mean, that face definitely has seen a lot of wind this year. Every time it snowed, it blew in hard. And the decision was made essentially because they didn't want anybody to ruin their run.
That was another thing that we wanted to make sure that we noted was, they wouldn't be penalized. They wouldn't have to worry about getting to the good part of the line and throwing their run away because they caught an edge or...
Yeah, because they're trying to charge in an area that doesn't want you to charge in it. And they did the same thing at the bottom on that run out in the canyon where the crowd was getting hyped up for the riders. There was a lower judging line where once they crossed that, if they snagged a rock and crashed, then it wasn't going to be...
Does it happen a couple times?
It did, yeah. It
happened a couple times. Okay, so moving on to snowboard men. Now, this is exciting. 2 riders in the snowboard men category finished with over 90 points.
Yeah, snowboard men put it on.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So what were some of your standouts in the snowboard men?
Well, I got to say, I was really excited for Hans Midnick. He was the first guy to drop, and he's got a real pedigree in snowboarding. He's got wins in the Baker Bank slalom. I mean, Kings and Queens of Corbetts. You've all seen the clip of him doing that back 3 to wall ride at the top. And he's definitely, like, his brother Nils, who's a world champion, has described him as the best snowboarder in the family. So it was exciting, and it was tough. It was tough conditions, and the riders had to do what they did with what they had, but I'm definitely not writing hands off.
No.
I think that would be foolish. Similar with Cody Bramwell, it just didn't quite work out. I was actually quite confused because he
looked like he was getting bucked around.
Yeah, he was kind of tossing back and forth between switch and regular, and then the whole thing was just loose but lit for sure for Cody Bramwell.
Big backflip at the bottom for him.
Yeah, that was spectacular, and totally what he's known for. Just couldn't quite hold on to it. He had the board across the fall line right after, and yeah, he kind of got bucked. And a similar story with Camille Armand. Really strong run. That backflip that he did at the bottom was perfect, absolutely textbook. But he
because it was like I saw that booter, and it was almost like it was tailor made. I'm like, someone's gonna hit that. I was hoping more people were going to hit it, but the way the face was,
you couldn't get to it from everywhere.
Yeah, but that thing, I'm surprised that no one just went up there the next day and just hiked it, started teeing off.
Yeah, totally.
This year we got to bring back the Derek quotes. So during Cammie's run, I think you said, if there's a Camille Armand run without a backflip in it, it probably wasn't Camille Armand.
Yeah, well, you don't see it very often, that's for sure. And that one was just epic. It was so perfect. Never looked out of sorts, and he did have a control issue higher in his line, but that one was definitely mental strength to stay on point to be able to do that after you've had a little down. So Ludo Guillaudia, French rider, taking the bronze. Ludo, I'm so impressed with him. He found something last year, and he was able to kind of harness the speed that he likes to ride at and keep himself in control. In other seasons, we saw for a while Ludo would be on the tour, then he'd get cut, he'd go back to the qualifiers, he'd earn his way back. He was still a stronger rider than a lot of the qualifier riders. And now he is really in the mix, and there's no hint of that. He's not looking...
Sent down to the minors a couple times just to figure him out, and now he's back full stall. He's not going anywhere.
No, I don't think so. That run was so strong. He's a really strong guy, and he keeps it in the fall line. The highlight for that run was just how fast he rode.
Yeah, like mocking, like under control, and then he had that massive air at the bottom.
Mm-hmm. And you could see him when he had to cross over the big slough pile, laying into the tail of his board to kind of wheelie and keep himself from nose bogging. It was a great run from Ludo. I was really, really excited to see that one.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And that just to give a little reference, the slough that we were talking about that cut out, it was actually quite soft. at the bottom of the hill, which is, I think, important to mention too. Because if that was, pretty burly debris,
it would have been tough.
It would have been tough to have.
And it probably would have ended a bunch of people's runs, which is always a shame to see when somebody has a great run and then they get gobbled up by the debris at the bottom.
Right. So that was nice that it was still quite soft, but we were like, wow, there's a couple of riders that just decided to go right through it, and we're like carving it up. They no fear.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So second place is one of the rookies on tour with a 90, Holden Samuels out of Montana, Bozeman, I believe.
Yeah, that was such a great run. He definitely showed, kind of laid his cards on the table. It reminded me of Blake Moller's first run on the Freeride World Tour, where there are a lot of questions, a lot of unknowns. He's really young, and he threw it down. That was such a clean run. He rode really fast in very technical sections, big airs, never put a hair out of place, and the judges rewarding it with a 90, and that was a huge score.
Big cross-court 360 too, which was just perfect.
Yeah, dialed. Everything about it was smooth, clean, fast, really aggressive, but not out of control, which, they loved it. It's a 90.
So I had a little chat with Holden to have him tell me about his run and kind of see what was going on in his head while he was ripping down the face. Holden Samuels, congratulations on a podium for your very first Freeride World Tour event here in Baqueira. How's that feel? How's that sound?
Thank you. I'm stoked. It sounds great. I've been looking forward to this moment for a long time, and it kind of played out pretty similarly to the way I wanted it to. And I'm super stoked to have the first event in the books, and I've done so well.
All right, so walk us through your run from top to bottom.
Yeah, so in the start gate, I was super jazzed up. Wanted to get through those sharks a little slow, just so, nothing bad happened at the top.
What was your thoughts on them offering you that zone to get through that wasn't judged?
I thought that was sweet because I didn't think that, there weren't any points to gain up there. So just making it down slowly made a whole lot of sense, and honestly probably saved time because then people didn't lose a ski up there trying to ski fast or whatever, and then you got to clean up that wreck. So I thought it was a super nice addition that they had at the top. But it's funny because I thought this face would be relatively easy compared to a lot of the other faces to visually inspect. But at the top, I still kind of got a little lost. I was right on top of my line. And then I guess my nerves got the best of me, and I just saw, kind of a little lip on the right side, and I was like, oh, that must be my line. Don't know why, but then I just completely took a right turn right at the top, crossed under the crown, hopped off that little lip, and then immediately as I rolled over, I saw I was going to land on ice and rocks right where the avalanche happened. Definitely not where I wanted to be, but I kind of just put the landing gear down, and as soon as I landed, I started going really fast because it was really hard snow, and my next thought was just stop as quick as I can. So I was able to handle that, control it. I still got the second wind lip that I wanted to. I originally wanted to backflip it, but I didn't know if I had enough speed, so I just audibled to a 3. Shut it down after. That was still a little bit hard snow. I think the hard snow at the top freaked me out. I wanted to kind of launch that last cliff a little bit further, but I decided to play it safe and, kind of take it a little smaller. And so it was a pretty fun run. It was a little hectic getting lost, but I feel like I made the best of it.
Yeah, I hope so.
People are definitely stoked on what he's doing out there.
I hope so. And then we have the winner, the 2-time winner of the Baqueira event. He won last year. He's won it again this year with a technical performance.
Yeah,
Michael Mann.
He backed it up big time. I mean, he put it exactly where it needed to be. He was one of the riders that I think was the best at managing the changing snow conditions in the area that he rode. He was right in that chute, and on either side where it wasn't low and the snow hadn't been flushed through, there was powder, and in the middle it was really icy, and you could see him adjusting the way he directed his board and the way he stood on it when it went from hard pack to powder and back. Big slash turn just to check some speed, but in such a stylish way. That run was fantastic and really strong.
Lots of little airs, and then my favorite part, probably of the whole comp, was when he blew up that massive pow slash at the bottom, and then exploded through
right out of it.
Shot out through the cloud, and then did it again. I was like, I hope the drone got it. It got a good angle of it, but I was right on, clap, 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 and then he blasted up that giant face shot, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah, he definitely playing to the crowd and for himself. I mean, as a rider, the dream is riding powder, and he was in this pristine powder field, and he just had to do it, and it got everybody fired up.
And remember, as you're following along, if you're near your computer, go to the Freeride World Tour website, and you can actually click on every individual rider's run and start from the gate. So as we're talking, if you want to see what we're talking about, make sure you go check that out.
Yeah, it's a cool feature on the FWT website that you can just click through, and they've got it all highlighted in the different categories and everything. So easy to use and a great tool.
There you go. So snowboard men, Michael Mann with 93.33, picking up kind of right where he left off last year.
Yeah, that was a huge score, and with Holden sitting in the hot seat on a 90, it was a tough act to follow, and it was a tough one to knock him out of that spot. But Michael Mann, he backed himself up after last year and did it again. So huge congratulations to Mike.
That's going to be a big category this year. It could go anyway.
It's wide open.
Yeah,
it's wide open. You look down the results sheet at the riders that are lower down. I mean, you've got Camille Armand and Jonathan Penfield, Verbier winner, who are lower, and then down at the bottom, like Hans, Cody, and Liam Rivera. Liam brand new, but holy, like he's so good. So it's going to be anybody's game.
Do you think this category has the closest parity out of all four of them?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, when you look at the list, especially now that we've fully kind of recognized and seen what Holden's got.
What Holden's holding?
What Holden's holding. Anybody can win. So it's hard. It's hard to do it, but they're all certainly capable of it.
So that wraps up snowboard men, and then we get to one of my consistently favorite categories, the ski women, and it did not disappoint. We had a rookie take spots 1 and 2. There were some other really exciting moments in there. One of my personal ones was Justine Dufour-Lapointe, the peak rider, who has recently just shifted from competing in World Cup moguls for the last, I guess, 10, 12 years. She's been doing it since she was a kid. I had her on my other show, and she was talking about the transition from that world to the freestyle world and how engaging it was and how welcoming the free ride community is, and being able to witness her experience all that has been really exciting. But there are questions remaining. Was she going to be able to transfer the skills that she has in that world? Do they transfer? Do they cross over to free riding? And she proved that.
Well, they sure do.
They sure do.
A lot of eyes got open really wide during that run. Not quite able to pull the backflip, and she was
big backflip,
huge. She went the furthest of the day, all categories on that one, and just, I mean, it was close, and she was a bit mad at herself because she's like, that's my bread and butter, like that's the part that should be easy for me, and then the classic free ride part she made look effortless, and her landing was perfect.
Yeah,
so stomped, so clean. I mean, obviously she's really strong. She's very comfortable landing from really high in the air. But yeah, a lot of question marks got erased from watching that run. So I think we got to look out for Justine because now she's hungry for it. She watched the podium and was like, I want to be up there.
Well, she broke the seal, right? She's in it now. She's experienced her first week on the tour with all the riders, experiencing the events that you have to attend and all of that sort of thing. So she's here now, and I think when she gets settled in, if she hasn't already, that you got to watch out for Justine. I think in the future,
she's settled in. I think she's good to go, and I think we're going to see her come out swinging in the next one.
Anything else that jumped out to you?
Yeah, and we didn't really touch on it as much as I would have liked to in the broadcast, but Lily Bradley having some just really unfortunate luck. Morning of the comp, doing 360s, just getting her head in the game, shorted one a little bit, and basically gave herself a small tear in her knee. So they're anticipating about a month to recover. So she's out for sure for Ordino. I think the timeline is a little tight for Kicking Horse. I mean, we'll see. She's pretty young. She might heal fast if she can get into the physios and get some work done on that. But yeah, if you saw her on the start list that Lily was a DNS, that was why. Unfortunate for her. She's taking it well.
Credit to her. What a great attitude. Like, she was having fun. She was there watching her friends. She was hanging out. She's like, I'm bummed, but you wouldn't have been able to tell, right? Like, she's got that personality where you're like, well, I can't do anything about it, so I'm just going to continue enjoying myself.
Yeah, and supporting everyone else,
Absolutely.
Which is huge, because this community is definitely really uplifting to each other, and yeah, Lily, a huge part of that. So Sybille Blangeon taking the bronze medal. You know, her last Freeride World Tour comp was a win at home in Verbier last year at the Extreme, which was, you know, a life goal achieved, a huge one, dream come true for her. And she actually had, I wouldn't say a perfect run. She had a little bit of a bobble in her landing of her big air, but it was a big air, and her ski kind of pulled, and she was able to stay balanced,
She held on.
stay strong, and put it right back down. She stayed in the fall line.
She had a nice aesthetic line. She was kind of skiing that little shelf in between. Nice fresh snow, nice turns, and then she hit that same air that we just mentioned with Justine. Stomped, came out of it a little hot. Ski got pulled back a little bit, but that just shows her strength. She was able to bring it back in at speed. And then continue on with her run, so that was cool to see.
Yeah, and finish the rest of it clean. So great start to the season for Sybille Blanchon. And then, yeah, the two rookies. I mean, we talked a lot, all of us in the whole community, about Molly Armanino and about what she was doing on the qualifiers and on the Challenger Tour before she had that crazy frostbite injury. And she sure showed that all of that talk was warranted. I mean, she went into an area that no other women wanted a piece of. There was no way out of there.
She was the only one that went in there. She opened that whole zone. It looked like getting in was pretty gnarly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was peppered with rocks, and then it was super steep. And she said after, she's like, it was icy. But what was cool, I thought, was you couldn't tell from watching it. I mean, unless you had a mic on her skis and you could actually hear the sound, you couldn't tell. She's totally skied it.
It was steep in there.
Yeah, really. It's the steepest part of the face by a wide margin.
Huge steep couloir with a closeout at the end, like mandatory air that she stomped.
Yeah. And then found another one all the way across, you know, kind of above the slough and into that fresh zone, and turned it into a double, which I thought was really creative. The second one was really flat, but yeah, she's strong, and she knew where to stand over her skis and everything, and it was really creative. That was definitely a great line and a great opening act for the Freeride World Tour for Molly. And she rode first too. In that category, you know, she had to drop first, so she kind of opened the whole thing up.
Big credit to Molly too, because I think her line had to change from her original, I believe, with what happened with the face sloughing, and she really wasn't sure what she wanted to do. But after watching that, you would never been able to tell.
No, she was able to kind of get herself into the zone and you know, into performance time.
It looked like she'd skied it 100 times before.
Yeah, that was a great run, great start for Molly. And then the winner, brand new rookie on the tour, Addie Radford. What a run. So smooth, so stylish, full commitment on all the airs, and adding grabs and tweaks and stuff. It was really, really cool to see her come out of the gate like that. And even in the area above the judging line, there was an energy to her skiing right away. And, you know, a lot of us haven't seen her skis. I mean, if you've been around the qualifiers, you've seen it, you know, her style. But it was cool to see that right out of the gate. And the other women that were up there, you know, Delilah Quinn mentioned that Addie was cool as a cucumber in the start gate. She was just hyped up. She knew what she wanted to do, but maybe more importantly, I think for sure more importantly, she was stoked on it. She's like, I can't wait to do this run. Like, I would do this if I was riding the chair here and there was nobody around. It's exactly what she wanted to do. And that's huge. Finding that motivation, you know, that carrot to dangle in front of yourself, like, I'm going to get to go do the funnest thing ever.
And that's the way you have to look at it, right? That's not everybody can. That's not their style, but it would help. Like, well, let's go have a good time.
Yeah. And for her, it totally paid off. I mean, she was able to put all the judging and the hype and the media and the TV broadcast and all that completely out of her head, focus on what she was doing, and do it in a way that looked fun. I mean, she, you know, it looked, when I watched, I was like, I want to do that. That looks like something that every freeride skier or like snowboarder would be
rock
stoked
solid.
On.
Like, yeah. There's no flailing. There was no uncertainty. There was no, you know, no skis out of place, no hands out of place.
Yeah.
It was just smooth, like stylish.
And super, super credit to both Addie and Molly. First time doing visual inspection, greased it. Absolutely greased it.
Absolutely. And then, you know, what brought Addison's score up too is she had a few grabs in there as well, little safety grabs on some of her airs as well, which boosts the score.
For sure, yeah. Air and style is one of the 5 categories.
So Addie had 72.67, Molly was at 70 points. So those 2 little safety grabs on 2 of those jumps, quite possibly,
put
her in the first place.
Yep.
So that shows how tight this really is.
Yeah, and you look down the field. We said this in Snowboard Men. I mean, honestly, if we're going to be completely blunt, in all of the categories, every single person in the field has what it takes to win one of these events. If you look through, many people in the field have won events, all the way down. So it's no guarantee, but both those three were the ones who came out on top today, and full credit to them because they skied great. They skied to the conditions. They did exactly what needed to happen, and yeah, congrats to all.
So that's what we think about watching Addie's run. Let's find out what she had to say about it. Addison Radford, you are now a Freeride World Tour event winner. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. That sounds weird, actually, you saying that.
Yeah?
I don't know if I really, thought about it like that yet, at least. But
You'll always be known as an event winner.
That's crazy, yeah.
In your very first Freeride World Tour event.
Yeah, so bizarre.
What were your expectations coming into this?
My expectations coming into it were, I was just first time ever visually inspecting something that big. I've done little visual inspections for filming stuff. It's always a way smaller zone though.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, my expectations were that it was going to be hard to pick out a line and know where to go. I knew the face didn't really have a whole lot of trees or super prominent landmarks.
Mm-hmm.
At least I didn't think it did until I started really looking at it. So that was kind of my I guess expectations were that whatever I picked out might not actually go the way I wanted it to.
Mm-hmm. And then in your mind, you're just thinking, or I'll just figure it out as I go along if I miss my spot.
Yeah, exactly. I basically just picked a portion of the face, and I kind of looked at the options, and I said, well, I guess I'll just hit whatever comes my way, but I'll try to at least stick to a line, and hopefully, if it goes, I'll figure it out, and if it doesn't go, I'll figure it out too.
Well, we know the result. Did it go how you expected it to go?
Yeah, I mean, not my results didn't at all. I did not expect that, but my line for sure.
Why don't you walk us through your run?
All right, my run. God, it's so bizarre because I never picking out that line was this is a winning run. This is a run that I'll have a really
I think
fun
part of
time.
it has to do with how you ski, though, right? It's how you skied the run as much as it is it's as much as how you skied the line than it is the line.
Yeah, that's very true. That is very true. But definitely my intentions were just to have a really fun time skiing and make it down and be stoked, and not even a thought in my head of this is a possible that I could even be on the podium.
All right, so we've got this on here.
Yeah.
We've got your run.
Check it
So
out.
talk us through this run here.
Yeah. Well, standing at start gate.
You listening to music?
Oh, bumping music. I can't ski without it.
What are you listening to?
I'm listening to Wham. It was in Sammy Carlson's film this year, Yup. It's by A$AP Ferg, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
It's been getting me fired up all season, so I have it on full volume. But yeah, drop in, super fun on the ridge. Just I know it's not judged, and so I'm kind of trying to save my, leg strength, I guess, for when they start judging it. So I'm not really going too fast or anything. But yeah, just kind of weaving my way down, and I passed by my actual original entrance. So it's kind of a chute that the avalanche took out, and it just opened up a bunch of rocks, so it wasn't skiable anymore. So yeah, I pretty much just go as far left as I can, because that seemed like the most...
Skiers right.
Oh yeah, skiers right, lookers left.
What was that?
Oh, I put my hands up to let them know I was actually going to start skiing now.
Oh.
Because I was traversing for a while, so I was like, okay, here we go.
So you a little air?
Yeah, I got a little air, made some turns. I'm like, oh, it snows good in here. Found something else. I had no idea. I didn't inspect this at all, so I just kind of was bopping around. And then now is where I'm like, oh, I'm into my line. This is spot on to my dream that I had. So I'm like, this is sick. and then find this cliff that I was looking at a whole time.
That was a solid air. Did you safety grab that?
Yeah, just a little grab, another little grab, like just trying to add like some style. I actually really wanted to do a 3 off that second one, or the last hit, but I didn't.
You linked together those two really well.
Yeah, I think it would have been so sick to hit that and then do a trick off the next. But for my first event, I didn't want to have anything extra to be thinking about. So I don't know the takeoff. I didn't know anything. So I just I'm just going to ski as.
And you skied solid. You skied smooth. Your landings were solid. And you got those couple grabs in there.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the difference between you and Molly is 2 points, 2.67 points. And that right there could have been the reason that you're on the that you moved on to the podium.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, I don't know, those little things. I feel like they definitely add to your style and the overall impression of your run. So that was kind of that's just kind of how I ski though. Anyway, I always just feel like I'd popping off stuff and do little grabs and little tricks and whatever. Just try and make it look like I'm having as much fun as I actually am, so everyone knows.
That's awesome. So when you get to the bottom and they end up calling your name, it's actually kind of a funny reaction because you had no idea.
Into first place with a 72.67. She can't believe it. What? She says.
I was just getting ready to go home. That was awesome.
That's actually hilarious. I haven't listened to the audio on that yet. Yeah, I was ready to be like, yo, Molly, that was sick. I'm sure whatever you skied was so sick. Nux, I'm out of here. I skied my run, I'm done. I was I didn't know where to look. I'm down there. The guys are like, look in the camera, look here, stand there, hold this, do that. And I'm just doing it all wrong. And they were hands on head, you messed up. You just next time you'll get it.
They're like, this rookie.
Yeah, exactly what they're probably thinking. So, but yeah, I was stoked to see Molly. She's kind of like a teammate to me. So, yeah, it was really. I mean, everyone I feel like is a teammate. Really, even though it's an individual sport, I feel like we are all on kind of a team. But her especially, we went through the qualifiers together. We're rooming together. So I was stoked to see that she was the one sitting down when I got down there.
Okay, so the final event of the day, ski men and fireworks.
Holy. The conditions were tricky, but you wouldn't have known it by watching those guys. They really delivered. Smart skiing, there was nothing reckless, nothing scary, which I always appreciate as a fan and, as a ski coach, a freeride coach. I don't want to be scared. I know the judges don't want to be scared. But they delivered, end to end from the field. It was just, wow.
There are some exciting highlights. Absolutely. Where do we start? Should we start with the highlights?
Yeah, let's start with that Belmoga. I mean, doing it from at home, a run that was as loose as it was awesome. I mean, such a big air at the top, and then he did have a little bit of a backslap, but was back up on his feet, quick turn, and then the moment, the defining moment almost of this comp.
The front flip.
Oh.
So I was sitting, once again, I said we wanted to get in the crowd for a bell, and I was sitting next to Brendan Metzler, and we were talking about his run, what's happening, and I was like, hey, remember when he did that front flip in Switzerland last year that didn't quite get around? And Brendan was like, oh, I don't know what he's going to do about that. I don't think he could land those. Wait, where's he going? And then sure enough, rolls in, front flip, spread eagle halfway through to slow it down. I don't know what he was doing there.
Yeah, he was making sure he didn't over rotate because I think that was maybe not bigger than he thought, but he opened up to slow the rotation down and
then stomped.
Boom.
And then the crowd went bananas. They started running down towards it was I don't even know how to describe it. It was insanity.
Yeah, it was so sick. And highlight reel stuff from Abel. He's starting to get that reputation. There's going to be something in the comp that he's going to do that you didn't see coming, you couldn't imagine someone doing, and he'll find a way to make it happen to just put that magic dust on his run. It's a pleasure to watch.
Yeah, it's really neat seeing him round into a solid character on the tour. Right? We did our opening, or we did our athletes interview where almost half the field is either new or a rookie or a wild card. And to see these personalities and these characters kind of stick around like second year, started to establish themselves, establish their personality within the tour. And like, I love this guy. I love that he's on this tour. It's great to see. He's exactly what the Freeride World Tour needs.
Yeah, that's for sure. And he is beloved as much by the other riders on the tour as the fans. Everyone wants to be around him. He's just brings a great spirit to the whole thing.
A heart of gold kind of guy. Then let's talk about Leaf Mama, who had the peak performance radical moment of the day. You couldn't see Derek roll his eyes there, being like, "Oh, geez."
That run was so cool. It was really, really different. The way he skied in that area was so perfect. It was so perfect. Just like the technique, the speed, all of it. You couldn't have skied in there better. And the snow was really, really tough. It was rock hard. And then just releasing to the fall line and that huge double at pace. I mean, he went so far off the second one, but it never even had a sniff of not working. Like he looked fine in the air. I mean, it was really far and he was going super fast, but never a doubt. Never a doubt he was going to land it. And he just blasted out the bottom at full speed. That was a great debut from Leaf.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And he got himself a cool mug.
Yeah, silver mug. It was really nice in the podium ceremony. They handed him the mug for the peak performance radical moment, and Max Palm ran back up because he still had champagne left over from the ceremony and filled Leaf's mug up with champagne. It was great.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was really cool. It's the camaraderie with all of these people. It's just it's so huge. It's such a big part of the community. This thing.
Right. There's a couple low lights. Some of our tour favorites, such as two-time champion Christopher Tedell. Hit a snow snake and had a ski pop off, which is unbelievably uncommon for him.
Yeah, really. And I think, to be totally fair to Christopher, just unlucky. I mean, a lot of people didn't hit rocks in the powder that they were skiing in, and he just uncovered one and it grabbed his ski. It took it right off. And you could see it in the broadcast where he was on the face to have that happen. Probably more than less people would have fallen, and that was not a place where you could fall. And he kind of tipped over because all of a sudden his ski wasn't there, but he handled it with exactly the kind of aplomb that you'd expect Christopher to handle it with. And then, I mean, this guy, the character, he skied down the closeout. There's only an air at the bottom, and found a way to squiggle his way out and not hit the air, so he wasn't going to leave another bomb hole for any riders who might have been going there. Like, what a guy. Yeah, that was pretty special. And Craig Murray, another huge favorite, unfortunately opting to put a new takeoff in that wind lip.
I thought that I honestly thought that the wind lip had like released on him. It didn't hold up, but he then said he just took the wrong line. And
yeah, I mean, he wanted to get a little bit higher than where the established track was, so he kind of rolled the dice on, will my feet go up it or will my ski tips go into it? And unlucky for him, they went into it. It just didn't have quite enough consolidation to hold him. But then he still threw the flip, which I thought was an interesting choice. I mean, he was in the moment. Yeah, he was already committed to it, and it was close. He turned his skis sideways mid-flip to give himself every opportunity, not to catch his tips, but it just wasn't quite enough.
He wasn't. He knew it too. Like we talked to him after. He's like, yeah, it didn't work out.
Yeah,
isn't what I was hoping it would go, and it didn't go. So no big deal.
All right, well, let's take a look here at our podium. So the bronze medalist, Carl Regner Eriksson, what a run he had. That
guy's
spicy.
hungry.
Yeah.
He came out of the gates with hunger. He's like, last year, second place overall. Year before, third place overall. He wants that title, and he started from the instant he pushed through the gate.
Yeah, even in the zone above where they were being judged.
He was charging.
He was charging, and that's, it was really rocky, and he made it look easy, honestly. And then the 360 off the cornice at the top took it long, and had to get on that left foot really quickly. And man, then, I thought he was doing the signature Carl Regner flat 3 with the Japan grab and took it to 7.
7. Yeah, and then just put a hip down, but it just kind of a bounce because there's a weird landing. It's like the landing angle's a little funky, I think. But
yeah, and there were some bomb holes in there.
And the fact that he got around onto his skis, I think just a hip check, hands didn't go down, and back on his skis full speed, and then cruised through, did another big 360, stomped it into that gully. I think you were getting a little excited on the broadcast there.
Oh, that stoked me right out. Yeah, we didn't see too many others, if any, spin that thing. And talking to the riders who did hit it, it's dead blind. And it's pretty sniper between the rocks and the landing. And so to spin into that where half the time you can't see the landing at all, you just have to completely trust your takeoff angle and the fact that you're in the spot that you're supposed to be. But he backed himself completely and nailed it.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I didn't notice is, speaking back on Christopher, Chris and Carl, they're thick like thieves. They're hanging out together. They're buds. They talk about other lines together. And a lot of times their lines are very similar. It was really neat to see that they took two completely different approaches today.
Yeah, Christopher said that he went there the season previous and didn't want to repeat, which I think is so interesting that riders actually factor that in when they're choosing their line of, I went over there last year, so I gotta mix it up.
Even though that shouldn't affect the judging, but in their brain, it does.
Yeah, or whether it's for the judging or it's just a personal thing that they don't want to do something that they've already done on the face. I know that for them, obviously they're making that choice, and the reason behind it, is whatever it is for them personally.
Right.
But
it's interesting to me because how many times have you skied like a favorite run, and you can ski it 100 times, and then some days you get it when it's really good, but you know the ins and outs of it. So I would think that maybe you want to kind of do something similar. So you're like, oh, I understand this lip, or I understand the takeoff on this cliff, or I understand the speed I need to go on this chute because I have that little bit of knowledge.
Yeah, the background knowledge, but I mean, I guess that's why we're sitting here doing this, and they are who they are.
Absolutely. Next up, we have Oscar Mandan.
Yeah, so he was given a wild card, not super last minute, but relatively recently. And for him, yeah, it was dream moment. He's been, as you said, he's been banging away at the qualifier tour for years, and he's been super close a bunch of times. He was hungry to prove that he deserved it because it was a bit last minute, and I think for some of these riders, I'd put Molly or Menino in the same category, who were wild-carded on. They feel that need to really prove that they belong here, and both of them definitely did that here.
Silver medal for both.
Yeah.
Second step on the podium. So he had a massive backflip.
Yeah, and in an area where he skied a couple of things that didn't see a lot of traffic. His take on the upper section, it needed to be really big. He needed to go far because it was low angle. It wasn't vertical, and all rock for a long way out. And so he had to hit that right, or it would have sucked, if he had come down. And then the backflip, I mean, he definitely took his knee to his face there. He's got a big fat lip, and but he just muscled it out, and the judges loving it, and the crowd loving it. It was a big flip, and another one in an area that didn't see a lot of traffic.
Right.
Maybe because it was so flat.
Yep, maybe. So Carl had an 81.67, Oscar an 83.67, and we've got number one, Max Palm, with an 86.33. This is one of the first comps in a while where a ski man didn't get over 90.
Yeah, so my take on that is the numbers are really used as a ranking system more than purely just assigning points. And because Max ran quite early, if he had run later in the field and done the same thing, we may have seen that score go into the 90s. But because he ran early, the judges are leaving themselves a bit of leeway. You got him dropping fourth, and 22 guys in the field. They need to leave a bit of space for that. So I think that's kind of how you can explain that, because that was certainly a high quality run. I mean, a clear win. Like he was 3 points clear of Oscar Mandan, and just packed. It was so packed. All of it. There was something going on the whole time.
And it was like, it looked like it could get loose, but he always managed to pull it. It's like he's got the quickest reflexes. It like that first hit, that little spin into the gnar, and then he comes around and he hit like an up ramp that like threw his body towards the wall of the couloir, and he just extends his feet out, boom, steps on like side angle and then is right back on to where he right back into it. We just watched it again because we wanted to get another look at it, and it doesn't make sense. Like for a normal person or even people on the tour, I think aren't able to do what he did there.
Yeah, he was so quick. The reflexes just like a cat, and also that really, really deep-seated fundamental skiing skills where the feet got to stay under the body. He just put them out there. He knew it was going to work. But yeah, if you panic in that moment, you just blast right into the left side wall of the chute. And that was just the start.
Yeah.
I mean, spinning into that is so committed, because if it doesn't work out, the fall is not good. But there was no chance he was falling. You know, he took like you said, the uphill landing and then straight back into the fall line, and the turns after that were just picture perfect. Mm-hmm. And then I mean the rest of it, another huge air and then a giant backflip at the bottom. I don't want to say he makes it look easy, because it doesn't look easy.
It didn't look easy at all.
No, but he makes it look...
It doesn't look as though it's unplanned.
Never.
Right?
Never.
Like the way, like his reaction to whatever's coming at him, he makes it look as though that was how it was supposed to be.
That was what it was
I
supposed
meant to
to
do
be.
that.
And he said after, his entire plan was 100% based on the conditions, and that was his safety run. He said that was the run that I knew I could do 100%, like 10 times out of 10 I'll land that run. So a guy like that saying that, you know, especially he's young, and we saw last year after he won here that he did a young guy move when we went to Ordino last year and had a big crash and ended up being injured from it. And so it's showing real growth in Max's sort of whole mindset, that he was able to look at this and not say, I have to do the craziest possible thing out here, something that is a dice roll, but no, put a plan together that's going to be 100% chance of sticking it. And if his safety runs are still winning by that margin, you know, look out. Yeah, so just a huge day, and another one, same program as Michael Mann, backing up a win here in the debut of the Baqueira Beret event with another one. So 2 back-to-back winners in both men's disciplines this year, which is pretty exciting. And you know, maybe you're right. Maybe they're starting to get a bit of knowledge of the event, or you just come in confident because you know you can win on this face.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So that was the event. The season started off great. I've had a great time this week. The comp was a lot of fun. The bar has been absolutely set by not only the people, but the venue. It was amazing.
Yeah, and the riders. I mean, the riders delivering what they do. The best free riders out there. And they're given what they're given. You know, it's a mixed bag. You never know with snow conditions. That's life in the mountains. And they were dealt a tricky hand, and they just really, really rose to the occasion.
So to summarize the event, started off with snowboard women. Katie Anderson ended up on top spot. Second place, Anna Orlova. And third, Eric Vikander. In the snowboard men category, top spot goes to Michael Mann. And then Holden Samuels, the rookie, takes second place. And Ludovic Guiodia, Ludo, is in third. Ski women, we've got number 1, another rookie, Addison Radford. We've got Molly Armanino in second place, also another rookies. Rookies are coming in hot this comp.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, they're here. And Sybille Blangeon in third place. And in ski men, we got Max Palm in first place. Back-to-back wins here in Baqueira. We got Oscar Mandin, who is new on the tour as well, taking advantage of that wild card, as did Molly Armanino. And Carl Renier Eriksson, who's hungry, third place.
Yeah, a spectacular event from start to finish, all categories delivering, and the star of the show, absolutely, Baqueira Beret and the Spanish fans.
And the storylines are bountiful.
Yeah.
You know, Aymar, Abel, you know, just what a great experience. So thanks for listening to this recap of the Baqueira Beret stop, the first stop of the 2023 season. Next week, we've got the next event. We're on our way to Andorra to ski Ordino Arcalís. So pay attention because there is another recap episode coming up. If you're listening to this, make sure you're subscribed to your favorite podcast app. If you feel so inclined, we'd love to hear your opinions, or just leave us a 5-star review. We'll take that. Thank you very much. All right, so we also have to talk about the Peak Performance Fun Bet. So if you listen to the past episodes, it's basically a fantasy league for the Freeride World Tour. You get to pick which rider you think is going to win overall. You pick who you think is going to win or podium for each event. And there are peak performance prizes each event, as well as a €3,000 prize package for peak performance swag at the end of the comp season. And so we've created a league, the FWT Podcast League, and we want you to join it. You can hop in, and you and I did not do very well.
We did not. When I was scrolling through trying to make my picks, I found it impossible to choose. Every single category, I'm like, they could win. So you just throw spaghetti at the wall and hope for some of it to stick. But yeah, tough, and yeah, you and I not great.
Out of 20 people so far, you're in 14th, and I'm in 15th. But how about this, Anna Smoothie, your cohort on the mic, is in second place overall.
Yeah, strong work, Anna, holding it down for the team out there, and the rest of us are going to need to step it up.
Well done, Anna. So if you want to join us in the fun bet, you'll join the FWT Podcast League. You can get that at freerideworldtour.com. Just go up into the menu, click fun bet, and come and join the fun. So thanks everybody for listening to this recap episode of the first event in Baqueira Beret, Spain. It was everything and more. I had such a great time. I'm really looking forward to next week. We've got another event coming at you in Ordino Arcolis in Andorra, and we will be back with another recap episode, hopefully just as awesome as this one. So as we reach the finish line here, we want to make sure that you folks are subscribed to the Freeride World Tour podcast. So go hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast app. And if you're so inclined, we'd love a review. Give us 5 stars if you feel it's right. Anyways, the next time you'll hear us, we will be talking to you from Ordino Arcolis in Andorra. Have a great week.
This has been a Redmark Media production.
Gracias Aymar por tanto que le has dado al Freeride. Gracias Aymar.